But it was at this moment I first knew something. It was clearer than ever that this event might just be the most important thing I had ever begun, nurtured throughout a life, and completed in my life. After all, I was witness to my daughter's life composite, and I'd seen it come to fruition so far.
Life's Learning Curve, episode 48.
Hello everyone, this is Life's Learning Curve, that podcast. Yeah, I'm Paul Hart, and we couldn't be more excited that you're here. Right, Sebastian?
If you say so.
He's a company man, that Sebastian. He's giddy with excitement because he's the guy on the staff that's getting all the fan emails. I'm not saying there's a lot, but people keep writing, or a couple keep writing and saying, when are we going to see Sebastian? When is he going to come on? When are we going to hear more from Sebastian? We like it though, thanks. Your emails and your comments regarding our content, we like that. We will continue with all of our true how we became us type stories. Through narration and occasional story recreation, we are learning from our past, just so we can become a better us.
The best us.
Throughout our lives, we all work on that, trying to become better. Please comment or to listen or to subscribe or whatever, read a blog that we have or find extended info and deeper show notes. Find us at our website, lifeslearningcurve.org. Have you ever attended a planned event and on the day of that event seemed to go into slow motion for an entire day? Now, I've had a few of those. Most were just a moment, just for a short time, slow motion seemed to happen. Just a few minutes or a few seconds. And others seemed a bit longer. But this type of thing is odd, that our brains have this capacity and ability to let us see things in sort of a slow motion playback or go into slow motion as they're happening. Sometimes even seemingly disattached from reality, these events are. And hey, this episode today is not about something terrible. It's not sad. It's not about a tragedy or an accident or something that things went into slow motion, but rather just the opposite. I will try and put into words the longest, most painfully joyous, yet the happiest day of my life so far. And it took place just 3 days ago. My daughter Heidi's wedding day. As this very specific day, Heidi's wedding day, came closer and closer, it became more and more clear to me that this was, for me, this was the most important thing I might ever do in my lifetime.
Father of the bride.
I'll explain why. So what happened? Let's get this going. Sebastian.
Hi, everybody.
Sebastian.
Rolling graphics. Cue music.
Oh boy.
Life's Learning Curve with Paul Hart. I'm Sebastian T. Dog. Episode Follow Your Heart. Stand by.
Change. I was told that as an infant, and I sort of remember this as well, I did not take to change very well. And according to my mom, if she moved the furniture, I'd cry.
Cry.
So, yeah, it sounds pretty ridiculous, doesn't it? What you're going to hear today are my somewhat self-absorbed perspectives of a father, me, trying to mentally move forward on his daughter's wedding day. A radical change, I guess. I've always had trouble giving up the past rather than easily building something new. A few years back, when my one and only daughter, Heidi, had become engaged to a wonderful guy named Trace. I really liked this gentleman. I was happy for her and for them, and I shared this news with my inner circle of friends.
You know what weddings cost?
So she had to cancel everything in the year 2020 because of the COVID thing. So that gives you another year to gather your thoughts about this.
Thoughts? What thoughts?
Try to keep your composure as you walk little Heidi down the aisle.
Do you have your speech ready yet, Paul?
Speech?
You know, you will cry. You're going to see all these people from Heidi's life and her past all come together to celebrate, and you will know most of these people, but I can guarantee you'll cry.
Have you picked out your first dance song with your daughter? I had to do that. That's very important.
You'll have to make a video of Trace and Heidi.
Oh, video? Okay, that I can do.
Don't stress Heidi out. It's a hard time for a bride. Keep your distance, but be there if necessary for her.
Well, only 3 of these I was aware of. The wedding cost? Check. First dance song? Check. Don't stress her out? Check. Now, with those 3 already in motion, I began to focus on the words. The words I would use, my toast or my speech. I don't know, they call it both, I guess. I would use these words to explain my life and my times with my daughter. But what might be the correct words? I wondered that. Too important for just a list of bullet points. Now, at age 28, Heidi had been out in the workforce for quite a while now, living in Kansas City at first and then Austin, Texas, far away from the Midwest. But I still treasured the times she took and came home from Texas to visit in the Midwest. Our Havanese dog Mia, it's kind of like a Shih Tzu kind of, always greeted Heidi like her best friend had just returned from a forever absence or an uber long workday consisting of months. Probably true. Lots of dog hugs and dog crying took place as Mia and Heidi literally hugged one another. And while Heidi was at home, Mia refused to leave Heidi's side. And I deeply understood Mia's joy, and often wished I could express myself as easily as Mia did.
Are you excited to have a drink named after you at our wedding? The Mia Margarita.
Nice.
It's one of our drinks.
Uh-huh.
It's our signature drink.
When a father thinks back on his baby daughter from birth to all the way through the time that first boy broke her heart and made her cry, it becomes obvious that it's almost an impossible task to separate fathers from their daughters. That bond is mysteriously awesome, and it can only be made in heaven. For some reason, I had never gotten beyond the fact that after college, Heidi was never coming home to live again. My issue entirely. She was ready, she went out, she got the job, and moved. I just wasn't. So back when Heidi left home, I missed her. And I guess I dug in a little too hard, holding on to her dog Mia a bit too tight. See the episode My Dad's Voice for more on that. So a little more on Heidi, her personality and things. Growing up, Heidi was my pal. She was the older of my 2 children, so, she was able to do things a little bit sooner than Riley. He was 3 years younger. He's my pal too, I'd like to say. Always kind was Heidi. Always full of fun. She laughed and she was a happy child, full of creative play. She loved to be flown around the house by me. When she was a small child, I'd wish her around like an airplane in the rooms. And she liked when I made her stuffed animals come to life. And I gave them all personality flaws actually, and eccentricities. When she went to bed, they would all talk to her. They would laugh themselves to sleep on some nights. Now Heidi, beginning at age 8, when we took vacations, car trips, Heidi was always my co-pilot, my navigator, and she sat in the second front seat because she loved working the maps from the passenger seat, as her mom occupied the middle seat and her younger brother played in the third row seat, in the far back, I called it, of the extended cab SUV we had at that time. At an early age of 6 or 7, she began doing what I call on cameras, because I shot video and things. When we went on vacations, she would do on cameras, standing in front of the camera with a microphone to narrate our vacations. Okay, so you're thinking, a 6 or 7? You're having a child be a host of something? Well, let me tell you something about Heidi. She had this unusual ability to memorize 6 facts. After 6, she lost it, but I could tell her 6 facts, and on the spot, she could output this very upbeat, engaging show with lots of energy. Opens. Narrations. Many of these made it to our local television channel. When Heidi transitioned from kindergarten to high school and then to college, although I hid it, I never took it too well. Change was never my strong point. The wedding. The plans for the wedding. Heidi and her fiance, Trace, were having their wedding in a special place. Trace had lived his high school years in central Illinois, where a lot of farms decided to take their existing uber cool barns and transition them into these amazing country venues for unique fresh air weddings and events. Well, this one was just west of Paxton, Illinois, and I cannot take too much credit for putting together this wedding. It just wasn't in my wheelhouse to do so. So my idea was just to supply funding and stay out of the way. So 3 days ago, Friday, it was a hot day for early June, and this would be dress rehearsal, or not dress rehearsal, but wedding rehearsal day. The temperatures had hovered around 95 degrees that week in full sun, no clouds. It was an unusual week for June, and I can't remember another day in another year in June that was that type of hot for so long. Quite hot and quite humid for that time in June. So as I said, it was a rehearsal day. So there were bridesmaids and there was groomsmen and family members. They all arrived for the rehearsal, dressed, kind of nice. I watched as almost everyone seemed to slowly strip off excessive clothing to accommodate the heavy tropical spring day. The bridal party practiced for the event. So the bridesmaids and groomsmen were sequentially lined up inside the rustic yet spotless barn. And when the music began in rehearsal, they would slowly exit the barn to the outdoors where the chairs and the altar stage were set. It was a simple yet appropriate setting with multicolored flowers adorning the sides of the stage. Pretty. The flower girl was Heidi's maternal grandma, 95 years old. My son Riley was also in the wedding as a groomsman. So along with my fiance Charlie, my sister Sue, my niece Allison, and her fiance John, our family was well represented. My mom and my dad I knew had to be there as well, looking down from above, giving us heavenly blessings. Yet, I knew I had a duty and a responsibility to present myself. I was not attending this wedding, but I was participating in this wedding in a way that referenced my manners, my etiquette that I had learned in presentation, all of which my parents had worked so hard to instill in my sister and me. To assimilate, I would need to dig deep to determine how my father might have managed this type of thing. After all, he had mentored me, been my dad for 91 years. But it was at this moment I first knew something. It was clearer than ever that this event might just be the most important thing I had ever begun, nurtured throughout a life, and completed in my life. After all, I was witness to my daughter's life composite, and I'd seen it come to fruition so far. As a side note, later my sister Sue shared with me how on her wedding day many years ago, my dad had not said a word to her before they walked down the aisle together. Momentarily, my perception of my mentor-like father just went poof, and then slowly returned to rightfully move me forward. Still, at rehearsal practice, the groomsmen and the bridesmaids, Grandma Flower Girl, exited the barn. At that time, the large sliding barn door closed. Heidi and I stepped into place. We lined up for the bride and father reveal processional. Even though this was just practice, I found myself kidding kind of slightly and saying to Heidi, "You ready for this?" Now, Heidi's not a big crier, nor am I. Well, I'm probably more inclined than she is. Not to show emotion, I looked over and I saw a tear in her eye. I said, "Don't mess this." I never got the last word out. I choked back a tear myself. And I told her how much I loved her. Real emotions had overtaken me. Just as they should. Because this was not some plot twist for a screenplay I was writing. That was the moment everything went into slow motion for me last weekend. For the next 30 hours or so, I would remain in this haze of slowed down time. I guess the only thing I did in that rehearsal that I recall is that when we got to the altar, I kissed Heidi, this is rehearsal, and I turned to shake Trace's hand and found myself quietly whispering to Trace as a UPS driver might. "I have a delivery here for you, Dr. McClintock. You're going to have to sign for it." It broke the tension at least. Good. Trace smiled kindly at my silly joke. Soon, 50 or so of us were off for our rehearsal dinner in downtown Champaign, Illinois. Now, Champaign was unique here. It is special because this was where Heidi and Trace had met 7 years earlier in their senior year at college, the University of Illinois. Besides funding, my one job was to assemble a video to be watched during rehearsal dinner. It would showcase Heidi and Trace as they grew up through photos and videos. Since I work in media and done hundreds of these type of tributes, it was ironic that I was now completing this for my own child. Let's just say I had cut 17 different versions of this video. Every time I watched it, I'd go, well, that's not right. I have to make this or that change. As I set up the video screen, the HDMI cord, a projector, and queued up the sequence to roll on my computer, I felt a great deal of comfort having my son Riley next to me, because sometimes he calms me and he makes me laugh without saying a single word. To me, my son is kind of a magical, full of dry humor and supportive type of person. It's very cool. I've done videos where not a single person is watched, and I've done videos where everyone was silent and watched everything. As the video rolled and the music filled the room, images of Trace as a young boy and Heidi as a baby projected on the portable screen. During the video, Heidi once again became my cheerleader, and she said,
Watch this part, guys.
The room focused on the presentation. They watched. A genuine emotion came from the audience. Hey, if you put everything you love about someone into a video and the audience sees that person grow and change, that audience just might see and feel the depth of that person. Some applause let me know that the room of about 50 people had somehow been touched by the video. It felt good. The next day was wedding day, and we would have to meet for photos at 2 p.m. in the 95-degree humidity of Middle Illinois. The first photo of the day involved just Heidi and me. I was surprised by that. In my early years doing videography, I had worked shooting videos for weddings, before people even know you could do that. It was just a guess of something I could do to make $1 or $2. I'd say about 30 years ago or so. And I knew the template for the wedding day like the back of my hand. I knew I would enjoy not working this wedding, but rather participating in it. The reveal photo. This was a staged photo put together by the photographers. So when Dad, me, I am standing there, I turn around, I see my daughter for the first time, all done up in her wedding dress on her wedding day. Photos would be snapped, capturing our responses. Okay, I've done that before as a videographer. As onlookers and friends all gathered around the entrance to the barn venue, I was to have my back to Heidi, and on a cue from the photographer, I would turn around and I would see her. In my earliest videographer years, I had shot so many hundreds of weddings in the 1980s and 1990s that I knew this photo opportunity very well. Being kind of a goof, I wanted to keep the emotions light for my daughter and me. I knew that I had to be careful not to overplay my reaction. I actually had not seen Heidi yet that day in her wedding dress, all made up. So when the time came, I was on my mark looking south. Heidi would approach me from behind, and I was to turn and see her. Yep, all was good. All was set. My heart and my psyche were calm. I felt the love and the good humor of the moment. I was conscious of not overplaying my response. Don't be too big, don't be too small. I sensed Heidi behind me, and I was given my cue to turn around to see her. I did. But something happened. My preconceived response disappeared.
You're so beautiful, huh?
All the perimeter people kind of disappeared.
My gosh.
It was like I was just with my daughter Heidi. It was just the two of us. And the rest of the world just kind of went away.
Oh, honey.
My worry about over or underacting disappeared like a bolt of lightning. And there stood my little girl.
Beautiful.
I first saw her face, her expression. I had seen that expression many times, but it had been many, many years ago. Her expression plainly communicated. How do I look? That smile from childhood was back again. I recognized that smile too. And then I saw the pockets of tears in her eyes. As a father, when your little girl or boy is hurt, you do everything you can to make it better. But this was not something I could do to help her. These were tears of joy. There were unspoken words in this photo op reveal. I felt as if she was saying, "I'm so happy, Daddy. I want you to be happy too. I hope you love me. Am I pretty? I'm getting married today, but you will always be the first man I loved." So much can be communicated with just eye contact. She did not cry, nor did I, but we most definitely filled our lower eyelids with emotion. A lot. Upon that photo reveal, all the cameras must have clicked as Heidi and I hugged hard. But I have to tell you, to me, everyone just disappeared. It was like 5th grade again, and I was taking my best girl to the daddy-daughter dance all over again. Just the two of us. Many years ago, when we were both a bit younger. The ceremony itself took place without a hitch. Heidi and I walked down the aisle. My mental slow motion manner was still running in that form. The perimeters of my vision seemed to be blurred, and it was surreal. Then, man and wife, finalized. Change again. Then more photos. Photos of the bride and the groom out by the one-lane, no-traffic farm road. I left the barn in the ceremony venue and I walked out to the road where the photographers and videographers were. These were my people. This is where I had come from. I'd felt comfortable with media makers, my daughter, and my brand new son-in-law. That's where I wanted to be at that time. We would eat a great meal as everyone gathered inside the beautifully lit barn venue thing. As if right on cue, all of a sudden rain came from nowhere and it drenched the outside, cooling off everyone for the day. But everyone was inside, so not everybody got wet. I did not drink anything alcoholic. I needed to be clear-headed, and I waited for a celebratory drink after my speech toast. So I talked with old friends, family members that I had not seen in years. I met new people as well. I recall laughing a lot and enjoying the moment. I knew that soon my speech would be coming up. And now, going through the whole process of rehearsal, meeting people, and getting the feel of the day, I was getting a much clearer focus of what needed to be said.
Follow your heart.
Would I get it out with confidence? Would I choke up? Would I try too hard and embarrass Heidi or Trace?
Would I?
But soon the DJ came to me and shared with me that my speech would be coming up after the current song ended. In a previous podcast, I talked about needing play on music, true, to get me to my speaking destination. See Life's Learning Curve episode called Sometimes I Miss the Show for more on that.
Check one.
The song ended,
Here we go.
and I heard the DJ exclaim, "Ladies and gentlemen."
Father of the bride, Mr. Paul Hart, ladies and gentlemen.
Two spotlights came on. The spotlights, strangely enough, the spotlights put me into a video production frame of mind. Spotlights for me are good. They don't intimidate me. I actually do a little bit better when there's lighting on me. They make me comfortable. In my head, the Letterman band was doing a brief intro for my walk-on. I knew with the spotlights and the music in my head, I would be okay. I knew at that point. Now, I just had to use meaningful words, say the right thing.
Important.
Here's an actual sound clip of the speech I made a couple days back.
I can't think of too many things in my life I've done that aren't as important as this is to me. So, Trace, it's nice to have you in the family. Welcome aboard. Hold on. It's printed in books and on posters, and it's lots of places in life, but it is very true that life goes by so quickly. It goes by in a flash. And I know as whatever age I was when I heard that and read about it, it's like, yeah, it does. But man, you get to be my age and you're like, wow, I can't believe that happened. It seems like for 1 minute you're in diapers, and the next minute you're gone. You're out of the house. And then you're in your careers, and if you get to be my age, you're retired. I'm not complaining about that. But it's just amazing how fast it all goes by. So except incidentally, unless you have a 1 or 2 year old, then it's really slow. But it does crank back up again, and then it just flies by. So what were once the stories that I used to tell at night have become memories, and I retell those memories now. But what's really great about today is I have some new memories, I have some new friends, a new family, and I'm so proud of that, and I'm so happy to be here tonight. And proud of you guys as well. My toast to you both is that for your pasts, respect your past, learn from your past, and all the great people that were there along the way. Some of them are here right now. Some of them aren't here, and some have passed on. But they all are your composites. They have made who you are. For your present, live in the present, be in the present. Hard to do with cell phones, but be in the present is the best place to be. And as for your futures, go forward with a huge smile on your face and make the day for other people and make the day for each other and for yourself, and you can't go wrong. Here's to Heidi and Trace. God bless you both. Amen.
I spoke of change and how it's important to respect and learn from our present, past, and future. Simple yet, oh, so true. Next, the bride and groom spotlight dance to a beautiful song about commitment, love, and embracing life's challenges. I was ready for my final main responsibility of that wedding day. The spotlight bride and father dance. I had one dance left in me. One final time for the two of us, my daughter and me. Now, I'm sure we'll dance in the future again, anywhere in the future, but my brain was working overtime, and so I was putting, periods at the end of events for some reason. As if I were crossing off a list of last time events, but it wasn't that. I knew that I was holding on too tightly to my memories into the past. What was the song we chose? Heidi and I had chosen the Beatles song I Will, but sung by Ben Taylor, James Taylor's son. Look it up on YouTube. It's pretty good. It's a nice version of it. Now, copyright keeps me from playing it here, but please look it up. It's a beautiful tribute to anyone, but on this day, it was a tribute to father and daughter. A lyric, love you forever and forever. Love you with all my heart. Love you whenever we're together. Love you when we're apart. Simple, yet a clear bond, a message of connection. Later that night, I had more dances left in me because I danced a lot. But to me, the dance with Heidi was my last dance. Last good dance. As if on cue, clouds parted and the late day sun brightly emerged once again, and a brilliant, bold rainbow, appeared in the southern skies. The videographers and photographers went to work right away. Wow, I thought. Amazing. God's doing entirely. So I had my first drink, and I settled in to talk and share time with wedding guests, Trace's mom and Trace's dad, and my new extended family. Yeah, but I've got my subconscious working overtime here, and it kept telling me, don't let go. You're going to get through this. There are great things down the road for everyone. In life, sometimes we're lucky, and we get good things like this wedding with a rainbow. And in return, we get back what we've given.
Follow your heart.
So after the ceremony had taken place, and after the grace, and after we'd eaten, and after my toast, and after our dances, my dance with Heidi, guests came up to me, some I knew, some I didn't know, and they shared things with me, which I would have never known otherwise. And I feel blessed that they did share these things with me.
I just wanted to tell you, your speech made me feel like I was back home again with my family.
You are just like my father.
Really?
After you spoke tonight, I called him. I went outside the barn and called him. Thanks.
Your kids have always spoken well about you. I heard stories about how you used to make Heidi and Riley's stuffed animals talk at bedtime. It was good for them to laugh themselves to sleep.
I had to tell somebody about your video, and your toast made me cry, but in a good way. Life goes by so fast. When you and Heidi had the father-bride dance,
Yeah.
you both had so much fun.
You could tell how much it meant to both of you.
Thank you.
It did. Remember when you were little and everything was okay because Dad was driving the car and it seemed like there was nothing to worry about. That night I realized perhaps I had just reached that status. Everything was going to be okay. Dad's here. And for a moment at that wedding, Dad was driving the car. It's been 2 days since the wedding, and now we were back from the middle of Illinois, middle of the state, back here in the Midwest. Trace and Heidi stopped by today on their way to the airport. Our dogs were ecstatic, especially Mia. We were so happy to see Heidi and Trace. We all stood there and laughed and retold all the positive stories from that night, and actually from the entire wedding event of days. We shared the people we talked with, and we agreed on how this event was a perfect representation of the two of them, and I think it was. But for me, this was the best party in which I had ever been involved. The amazing beauty of that day itself, culminating in this beautiful sunlit rainbow against a pitch black horizon in the distant south. Nice. Laughter, fun. The storm clouds had blown everything away that was bad. So as Trace and Heidi hugged us goodbye, and they drove off to begin their life together, I took one long last look, and I smiled. So what's our takeaway? What did we learn? Well, what did I learn? Well, I'm still aware that this episode is my self-indulgent take on my daughter's wedding. You know, the day was hers and Trace's, not mine. But it's my experiences I'm sharing. This wedding came off with love, happiness, and a lot of fun. And as for me, in my future, well, I know that I'm growing older, but I'm not yet quite ready to give up the inner child in me. So as change happens, and it does, my days are becoming more and more optimistic. But apparently, I'm still the dreamer. That's why we write. Change is never easy for me. You fight to hold on, and you fight to let go. God bless my daughter and my new son-in-law and their bright future. For Life's Learning Curve and all the dads out there that have daughters getting married, hang tough, man. I'm Paul Hart.
Subscribe to Life's Learning Curve at lifeslearningcurve.org and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or Podchaser.
Episode 48, Follow Your Heart of Life's Learning Curve podcast was put together by me, producer Sebastian T. Dog, executive producer Paul Hart, technical director Mac Tennyson, editor Paul Richards, audio and sound Riley Hart, production manager Scott Hurley, studio equipment manager Don Compton, additional media provided by Charlie Verlaire, additional event photos and videos by Second Clip Studios, secondclipstudios.com, and T-Stag Photography, tstagphotography.com. Good work, good people. Find us on Facebook and listen to us just about everywhere podcasts are heard. Visit our website, lifeslearningcurve.org, and subscribe. Read a blog, read anything, shoot us an email. We'd love to hear from you. This podcast has imaginative voice recreations to protect the privacy of others. Some names, some images have been changed and characters conflated. Follow Your Heart, episode 48. I'm Sebastian T. Dog, and Paul will be back soon with another story or two from Life's Learning Curve.
We're clear. Out.